Good morning. Happy New Year. Let's take a stand in this new year. For years I would talk about how I wanted to change the world, but I always left it up for someone else to do. Then I finally realized I needed to take a stand, and that by changing my thinking I could change my life, and that's how I could change the world. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Sing it out. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. One more time. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world. We're making a new world now. We are making a new world now. One more time. We are making a new world now.
Thank you, Kristen. Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. We are making a new world now. If not now, when? If not us, who? All right, let's begin by blessing the world with the wisdom of our teaching, knowing that everything that comes through us cannot be contained within us, and that it moves through us out into the world and touches lives of people we will never meet, but that consciousness seeks and finds its own level, like water moving down the mountain to the ocean. Consciousness finds a reception, and where it does, truth arises. So we begin today by knowing that spirit is the one life that is the universe itself in form, and that life is us. In some way it has become uniquely you and me and all people everywhere. We know that humanity right now is seeking that truth. Humanity is attempting to wake up to its origins and to possibility. And so today we treat our mind to know that those in power who would keep humanity oppressed, suppressed, and repressed are now transformed, transcended, or transitioned right out of this experience. That it is time for the people of planet Earth to take back their lives. And that's nature. That's every living sentient being on the planet. That's the universe itself. This is our home. We claim it. And so today we don't just pray for peace, we demand it. We demand it in ourselves, and we demand it in the world, and we demand it in our leaders, and we act accordingly. Because it is true that always something better is trying to happen. Always something is trying to happen. that comes right from that universal source, and that is love, peace, joy, beauty, harmony, balance, supply, vitality. It all comes from the one, but it must be dispersed through the many. And so we take our part in the grand scheme of things and say yes to what wants to happen through us, by means of us, wherever it takes us. We say yes. And we begin this morning by celebrating this place and the people in it. Regardless of size or numbers, we are a mighty force in consciousness. And we let that force have its way with us. And so we begin from the ground of possibility and giving ourselves completely into this moment, that we might realize once again, my life is the life of God. My mind is the mind of God. My being is God in form. God and I are one. And what God is, I am, and I let it be seen and known and grow. And so with cheerful expectation for a beautiful time together today, we simply say, it is done, we let it be, and so it is. Thank you very much.
Rolling river guide, little stones are smooth, only once the water passes through. And so I am a stone, rough and I'm grainy still, just trying to reconcile this river's chill. But when I and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. But when the sunset comes, my prayer might be this one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in your hand. Sometimes raging wild, sometimes swollen high. Oh, never have I known this river dry. The deepest part of you is where I long to stay. Oh, to feel the roughest edges wash away. But when I close I know that time brings change, and change takes time. But when the sunset comes, my prayer might be this one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am. That you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in little stones are smooth only once the water passes through.
Nobody ever did that better. It's beautiful. What a beautiful lyric, too. Think of Spirit as a rolling river, smoothing our rough sides. Well, Happy New Year again. Are we all eager for new adventures? Huh? Do everything? Well, it's a marker in time, and it works for our emotions and our sensibilities to think of starting over. But, we never start over from scratch. We start from source all the time. And that's what we're all about here, is remembering what that source is. January in Centers for Spiritual Living internationally is traditionally the month where we go back to basics. Even though the basics of our teaching are cutting edge, spirituality and science, and they're very simple, we have a tendency to complicate them. And so it is a good idea to spend 4 weeks in January speaking about the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. So there's no better place to start than to talk about God. Now, I have become quite sensitive to how that word is a trigger for people. And I use it with discretion, and I always attempt to qualify it or say what we mean in our teaching by it in the context of this particular spiritual philosophy. First of all, it's a verb. It's not a noun. It's an action. It's a movement. It's an energy, and it is constantly on the move and never stops, never starts. It's just continuous. In traditional religion, they say there was no beginning and no end, and I never could figure that out when I was a kid. But I get it. I grok it in the sense that it's constant. It becomes a noun, though, when it became you. When it takes form. That which we call God takes on an identity in the finite realm. Itself infinite, but taking form. This is a fascinating image to hold in mind, especially when you're up against it. That this power and this presence we call God is forever attempting to become more of itself by means of us. By means of us. Not only individually, but collectively. I was talking to a young man at the airport who asked what I did when I said I'm a minister. He got that look. And he was probably about 25. He says, I don't think I believe in God. I said, well, not all teachings describe God in the same way. In the work I do, we don't speak of God as a man in the sky or as a form of any kind. I said, but you don't have to believe in God to notice that there is something responsive in the universe. And that responsiveness is pervasive. It is everywhere. And that something else, there's a something else that is always present. You knew it when you were a little kid. You played with it in the garden. It was your invisible friend. It wasn't named Frankie. It was God. And it was the sense of having just been downloaded from that one life into this individuality. But you still, when you're little, you still carry that universality with you. It takes a while for us to let go of it, because part of our growth is to develop an ego, is to develop a local sense so that we can perform in this time-space dimension. But, of course, spirituality is about holding on to some of that or regaining it when you're an adult. Far too many people have just given up on it and said, there's nothing. Well, that, to me, is lazy. So this something else seems to be listening in the sense that it responds immediately to us from within. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, said, intelligence responds to intelligence, love responds to love, like is attracted to like, right? It's pervasive throughout nature. Love responds to love is a very important one. So when that love is active in us, it tends to be active in our life. Then that response becomes creative, though. It makes something out of itself. It's producing what we responded to in the first place. Now the response becomes a form in the world. It appears outside of us. And we go, wow, there it is. The very thing I was thinking of. It's not hidden as potential now, but revealed as actualized substance. So God functions as both a responsive presence and a principle. There has to be a way for this to work in a neutral sense that works for everybody, like electricity. There has to be laws, principles that allow anyone to access the higher realms of their own being in an effortless way. And that is the law of mind, the law of correspondence, the individualization of our idea coming through us. So let me give you an example in nature. You know, when you drop a seed into the soil, the response from the soil to the seed is immediate. It immediately begins to act upon it, to draw the inner potential out. And the seed responds immediately to the soil and immediately to water and air and light. There's no lag time. There's no hesitation. The response is always immediate, right now, all throughout nature. All life is like that. The form begins to grow from within, to reveal itself. The idea tends to become something that can be seen. All right? So all of life like that, a response that corresponds to what is inherent in the seed. Well, the seed in us is our mind. You know, all through the Christian Bible, there's references in Jesus' teachings to seeds and soil, and it's all about seeds being ideas, seeds being thoughts, and the soil being that responsive, subjective, universal mind that takes the seed and grows it from within, grows the idea. So the seed in us are our thoughts, our beliefs, all those things that we use to define reality. That's what we're doing all the time, isn't it? We're defining reality by what we talk about and what we say is true or not true. And that's the law, and that's how it functions neutrally. But the presence is a whole other thing. So I love that song so much. It really describes it. The presence is what makes life magical. It's what the poets write about. It's what mystics have seen. It's what children discern without being able to speak about it. It's the source of music. All inspiration comes from the presence, that which the world calls God. It's really sad that much of the world have denied God now and said there's no such thing. It's just that it's the old form. The old idea is not suitable for today's world. It's too small. As the Dalai Lama said, if your religion doesn't include science, it's going to die. Because the humanity has evolved intellectually to a place where it must include it. Reality must include what science is discerning. That's what I love so much about this teaching, because it does just that. But this presence is aliveness. Have you ever wondered, well, not wondered, but noticed how you can feel your own aliveness? If you're sitting in silence and meditation, there's some energy moving, right? You can feel it. What is that? You think, well, it's just your physical self. No, what is your physical self? It's a picture. It's an outpicturing of aliveness taken form. And it contains the very presence it came from. And this is where we see it in the intelligence of the body, how beautifully it heals itself, and all the things that just happen automatically. It's intelligence responding to intelligence. And so our seed thoughts, the ideas we hold about ourselves, our bodies, our everything, are key to keeping all of that just smoothly running. This goes back to, well, it was a misunderstanding of a phrase, but not my will, but thy will be done. And this has to do with seeing there is a pervasive higher intelligence that knows how to keep us healthy, wealthy, and wise. But we interfere with it. We question it. We complicate it. We extend the power outside of us. And so we, in effect, are not tapping into it. And that's why spiritual practice is so important. It really helps keep us prayed up, as they say in Christianity. Keep us tuned in to these finer vibrations of reality. It's really important. So this aliveness is a quickening agent. And you probably noticed this, is that when you're sitting in contemplation or meditation, you get an upsurge of well-being feeling, the happy for no reason feeling. And what has happened is we have felt the presence, and we have felt the aliveness, and it's quickening, and it quickens our thoughts. It raises our thoughts to a higher level. You know, they say when you're really in meditation and real prayer, you cannot have a negative thought. It's impossible, because you're immersed in spirit. You're immersed in God. You're immersed in your true self. Your true self only knows beauty, love, joy. It can't have a negative thought. So whenever we have those, we've kind of fallen out, if you will, from the presence. So how we experience it is how we contact it. And that's why our form of prayer is somewhat different than traditional prayer. It's more of a declaration. It's more of a statement of what is true spiritually. Even when we haven't seen it manifest physically, we know it is true. In other words, we know love exists even if we are not experiencing it in our own life, right? We know health exists even when we're sick. We know joy exists in the midst of despair. It's sitting there waiting for us to move back in harmony with it. Those things, they're always there. Khalil Gibran in The Prophet spoke about this, that pain is your joy unmasked, or joy is your pain unmasked. It's the other side of the spiritual coin. The Catholics used to say there's an angel on this shoulder and a devil on this, and you're constantly choosing which one to listen to. There's some truth in that. That the very thing we're resisting has an opposite component, and it's the very thing we would welcome. And so our spiritual practice is to use our mind to move in that direction, even when it's not easy. Even when the facts say, you can convince yourself that it's not true. But that's why we have practitioners and we have each other, and we know the truth for each other. It's extremely important. So our own tendency to help others is real. Our delight in giving, our joy in being. We don't have to ask anything of it. That's just there in us if we're tuned in to our heart's desire. I'm going to share with you what I did on my Living Consciously. You don't all get it, so you didn't all hear this story, but I wanted to repeat it because there is so much in this. Real life stories are almost always metaphorical for spiritual truth. So here's what happened on my trip. And there's a deep lesson in this. Well, the lesson is it doesn't take much to make somebody happy. On my flight to Toronto, so I booked this flight way back because it was Christmas and I was going to go see my son. And I wanted preferred seating, which costs a little extra, not a lot, because it's just, you get more leg room and it's up front. But the only aisle seat was in the bulkhead, which I don't like, because they make you put your purse up there, and that bothers me. So I don't like doing that. Then you got to get it in. And plus, it's kind of, your legs are out, and it's just, I don't know. It's not my favorite seat, but it was the only one. So I booked it, thinking, well, maybe somebody will switch with me. Forgot about it. So we're getting ready to take off, and everybody's in their seats, and I feel this punch in my back, like two big knees. And I turn around, and there's this big guy. He says, I'm sorry. I'm just too big for this seat, and I'm sorry. And his knees were like up in his face. He was so tall. And so I said, that's okay. And so then it happened again a few minutes later, and I turned around, and before he could apologize, and before I knew what I was going to say, I said, do you want to switch seats with me? You should have seen the look on his face. He said, you would do that for me? I said, sure. I can sit anywhere, but you can't. He got up. He was 6'9", legs up to here, And he said, that's the kindest thing anyone has ever done for me. I said, I hope not. I hope there's much more kinder things done for you. So we switched, and he just couldn't get over it. And it's really weird how something like that, because I didn't even think about it. I just said it. So everybody around, there was a bunch of men in that. I think they were all his friends, because they almost stood up and applauded me. I thought, isn't this funny? A simple thing like that. And they were going, oh, man, that makes a huge difference. And this woman said, you're really getting some good karma, lady. And it was really interesting how people responded. I thought, boy, this world's getting crazy when something like that really moves people, right? So we would, the end of the flight, and at the end, I was actually blushing. They were gushing so much. I haven't blushed in 45 years. But I could feel it, red as a beet. He couldn't stop thanking me when we're deplaning, I'll never forget you. Thank you so much. This is the sweetest. Just stop. It's no big deal. Okay, so, but then I remembered that I had wanted to switch seats, that I didn't want to sit in that seat. But I totally blew it off and forgot about it, just accepted I was going to sit there. But that's the way the power works. Now, the real part of that is how natural it is to be kind. How natural it is. See, none of that was premeditated. There was none of this, should I offer him my seat or not? It was just, right? And that's what we're prompted to do. And when we act on it, something good comes to us as well. The very thing we desire shows up in our life. And sometimes the circumstances that move us in that direction are challenging. Sometimes we think, wait a minute, what is this about? I don't think I like this. And yet underneath it, there is this rolling river God, this moving aliveness, this quickening energy that is attempting to put us in position to accept our greater good, that is hidden in our mind that we've forgotten about. But it's still active. That's the thing. If there's something in us that's active and it's real for us, it won't go away. It will manifest itself. Something will happen. And if we don't move, if we don't say, this is what I'm going to do, it will do it through us, right? Have you ever had that happen? No? Well, just wait. It just does. We have to pay attention to that which we're putting in the law. Life is really simple, and we tend to complicate it. Human beings invented struggle. There's nothing in the universe that struggles. There's no struggle in the Big Bang. There's been no struggle ever since. It's this constant movement, constant expression, constant expression of life. You know, they say God is in the details, but what I took away from that little experience is the way to get what you want is to help someone else get what they want. Works every time. Every single time. So I said, my affirmation for 2020 is sparkle plenty in 2020. How corny can you get, Carol? But I like it. It's easy to remember. So let's go back into treatment. Knowing that something great is trying to happen here, and something wonderful is on the move through every one of us. And that which we call God is the rest of us, the best of us, the not yet expressed of us. Waiting in abeyance for our agreement to download it, to become it, to let it be seen and known by means of us. And when we consider these lofty ideas, we realize, well, we can see them everywhere in nature. This is how it all works. There is potential in every life that exceeds any expression up to this point in time of it. We say things like, let there be peace on earth, and yet peace is a mighty potential we have never really explored. It's not the absence of conflict. It is so much more. And it comes from mutual respect and love of diversity and celebration of life in all its forms. It comes from the realization that we are sharing a planet that is extraordinary. It is a miracle in all its diversity and perfection. And it's just here for us. We've never plumbed the depths of love. We just use it so casually. But it's a mighty force. It's the cosmic energy that keeps the planets spinning in their orbits around their suns. It's the cohesive energy that brings things together that belong together. Love is the law in action. And we speak so casually about our health when we are actually a vitalized center of God's consciousness in form. Vitality. The same power that pushed the invisible into the visible. Vitality brings the baby through the birth canal. Vitality lifts us out of lethargy and laziness and prompts us to do new things and build new things and create. These are the components of living that everybody has. And so let's affirm and declare that each one of us, no matter what the world's doing, no matter what it says on the news, no matter what it's been like before, we take a stand for love, peace, joy, harmony, balance, order, vitality, supply. We accept greater good. For this center, our lives, the world. That we move beyond what was into what could be because of who we really are. And so with all that, we just are grateful. Grateful for what's happening right now. Grateful for what's to come. Grateful for what has been. We let it all go. And we say yes to God. Have your way with me. Say that out loud. God, have your way with me. You might repeat that throughout the day and see how it makes you feel. Because this God, this presence, this law and principle is something that is completely trustworthy. It never teaches lessons. It only grants wishes. That's the God that I believe in. And so with great joy, I release these words into the universal law, knowing they have their effects, they are immediate, they are observable, they are lavishly given, and they are joyful to behold. And so it is.
And now it's time to sparkle. Hey, oh, yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Y'all ready to sparkle? Come on. I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it on my chain, wearing it around my neck, yeah. I'm taking my freedom, I'm putting it in my car, wherever I choose to go, it will take me far. I'm living my life like it's golden, 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 golden, living my life like it's 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 golden, golden. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my song, singing it loud and strong, grooving all day long. I'm taking my freedom, I'm putting it in my stroll. I'll be hot stepping, y'all, letting the joy unfold. I'm living my life like it's golden, 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 golden, living my life like it's 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 golden, golden. Holding on to my freedom, can't take it from me. I was born into it, it comes naturally. Taking my own freedom, shredding the God in me, representing its glory. Hope it's proud of me. Living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, golden, living my life like it's golden, 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 golden. Can you sing that? My life like it's golden, 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 golden. Sing with me. Living my life like it's golden, 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 golden. Living my life like it's golden, 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 golden. Living my life like it's golden, 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 golden. Yes, live it like it's golden.
Wow. Life is golden. The bank informed us recently that as of January 1st, if you write a check to us, you have to write out the whole thing, Center for Spiritual Living. They won't accept CSL anymore. So maybe they'll let this week slide if you've already written your check. But yeah, rules, right? So let's say our conscious giving affirmation together. Take it in our hand and feel the energy. You ready? By this act of giving, I am a blessing to my spiritual community. I support its growth and the expansion of our teaching in the world. I do my part, and I am blessed in return. Grateful to be here, I release a portion of my good into circulation. All is well with all of us. And we thank those of you online who are donating right now. We appreciate your support. Ladies, and let's sing, I Am So Blessed.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed.
All right, thank you so much. And welcome to all of you who are here for the first time. Please pick up a welcome packet if that's the case. I'd love to meet you, find out how you got here. So come and join us for coffee and refreshments next door in the fellowship hall. I will be doing Consciousness Tune-Up on January 18th. It's a 3-hour workshop. Bring a lunch. We're going to have a good time together. We'll do it in this room. And it's all about sort of deepening your connection with your own creative intelligence, learning to use 21st century prayer or spiritual mind treatment for yourself and others in a way, and interactive and fun processes to rediscover your heart's desire and those old dreams, and connect with other wisdom seekers, other folks in the center who are taking a more intentional look at their own life. Be prepared for some fun. All right. Well, I went to Toronto for Christmas with my son. It was wonderful. I was sick the whole time. And I don't get sick, but, when things are lurking, they take form if you don't pay attention. So when I got back, I was faced with the facts that I actually saw coming before I left, which was that the center is pretty much out of money. The center almost didn't get to pay these guys last month. We haven't paid the landscaper or the gardener or me. And speaking with the board and looking at long-term and et cetera, it seemed the wisest thing to do was for me to resign. So I did that. And this is my last month here. My last Sunday will be February 2nd. I want you to know that the looks on your faces is very validating to me, because I was getting to the point where I was wondering if I was effective at all. This room should be full. I don't know that it's the answer, but it's part of it. I still think the answer lies in relocating, but that's another story. And if you want me to talk about it with you, I will. I want to introduce our president, Jennifer Woods, who wants to speak with you about this a little bit, if you don't mind. Jennifer Woods. Jennifer Woods.
So you have 3 of your board members here today. You have me, Jennifer Woods, Lori Slate, and Teresa Lanny. And we're missing 2 of our members today. One is on vacation and one due to health, but hopefully they're tuning in via live stream. We really want to start this conversation by saying we are so grateful for Reverend Carol, and we have been blessed with all of her teaching and everything that she has given us for the time that she's been with us. But we're in a horrible place right now financially, and we need to be able to get to the next place, and this seems like part of it. Reverend Carol has agreed that if we can bring her back at some point to speak randomly, she's not going to disappear from us altogether, because we love her and we value her teaching very much. So and it's with a great heaviness that we had to come to this decision, but we literally are up against a wall. So we're reaching out to all of you because we need the center to make it through this transition And we want to do this transition with love and respect for Reverend Carol and for our congregation and our space here. So we're asking anyone to contribute that has the possibility to do that. Do you have anything to add to that, Lori?
Just to echo along with Jennifer's remarks, and we were speaking about some of the big changes that Reverend Carol brought to us, including our live streaming. So many ways that the center has been up-leveled by her teaching and contributions. And so it's, we're not going to pretend it's not a painful and challenging time. And we are people who believe that we can create the things that we want in our life. And so it's not giving in to despair. It's just saying there's something greater trying to happen here for Reverend Carol and for our center to continue to evolve. And so we also very much want and appreciate any kind of time contribution that you can add. We may need to ask for help on a lot of different levels, as well as financial contribution to help us transition. So thank you in advance. And just whatever gifts you have, pay attention to those, because we're sort of doing a call out for all gifts and help at this time.
Ditto all of that. On the drive here this morning, I just kept saying to myself, just don't cry in front of the congregation. I am in huge grief over Reverend Carol leaving, but as I've said to her directly, I know that this will be for the greater good for not only Reverend Carol, but ourselves. It's not what we wanted it to look like, but, Spirit is in charge, and I do remember that. So that's important. We absolutely intend to continue as a center, and we'll just be more of a co-op for a little while, hopefully. So the three of us will be here after service, and we'll just be right up here if you have questions or just you want to discuss or hug or whatever it is that you want to do as we move together through this as a congregation. And, of course, we'll remain available. Our contact information is on the back of the program. You can write us email, call, text, whatever you need to do, because we're absolutely going to be available to all of you as we move through this. So, and we can also look forward to the next several weekends of celebrating Reverend Carol as she is here with us. So we're going to be looking at, giving her the proper send off, although I don't want to send her off because I still want her to be available, but the proper thank you and gratitude as well. So kind of keep that tucked in your hearts, and any ideas you have, please let us know as well.
That's it. Yeah.
Your service. So, keep me in your prayers. I don't have a plan B. I plan to be here for years, but you know how things are. If there's something else that wants to happen in me, I know that. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. We're done. Let's sing. Let there be peace on earth. Yes, there is peace on earth.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it began with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, united all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it began with me.
many blessings, and let's go out and give the world our love and compassion effortlessly, joyfully, and knowing that we are always in the presence of that great rolling river God. So it is.
So it is.